Nice scenery. So,
Okay.
Rick, it's all yours.
You may want to mute yourselves. I'm going to try to screen share. Okay, everybody can hear me, I assume.
Looks great. Yep.
This is the Hot Air Balloon Fiesta in Albuquerque that's held every year. This is going to be different than these luncheon speaker you had last month, which was heavy duty reporter and politics and stuff. This is just a bunch of pretty pictures. So I hope you enjoy the pictures, and I'll try to have a few words to say about some of them. Let me get rid of this. There we go. Okay. It's been held every year except 2020. Since '72, it's the biggest balloon fiesta anywhere in the world. And it really feels like a state fair. They had all sorts of concessions there, selling any kind of food you wanted, t-shirts, rides in the hot air balloons, hawkers of all types. It was a really fun atmosphere. There must have been 100,000 people there the first night we went. It was very crowded, and a few people were wearing masks. We were. The area where it is several football fields in size, and they gridded it off so that each balloon gets a grid. It was limited to 550 hot air balloons. Never seen that many, and every color, shape, size you can think of. People from all over the world came, and a lot of them had to send their balloons because they weren't able to travel. So they hired local people to actually inflate and fly their balloons. The first night was a glow, and that's where all the balloons are tethered to the ground and inflated with their burners blasting. So it's warm, and you can walk all among the balloons. A lot of the balloon festivals, you can't go down where the balloons really are. You can walk all around the balloons, talk to the people. You'll see some of that. And then we went to the mass ascent at sunrise, where 550 of them take off more or less all at once. They're trying to get as many in the air at once as they can. And during the days, several days of the fiesta, they have chases, they have games in the balloons all over the Albuquerque area. We parked in the designated parking lot. I got my 10,000 steps in for the day. I can assure you, I walked a lot farther than I expected to. We walked, here we are on the left, walking toward the balloon park. And then on the right, we're about to enter. And you can see already the variety of balloons, commercial ones. Exxon is a major supporter. There's Remax in the background, and then a bunch of private balloons. Here you can start to see as we get onto the grounds where the balloons are, and you can see them tethered down. And there's normal shaped ones. Can you see my mouse? This one is some type of I guess a rabbit maybe. But there's all sorts of different ones. Just look at the beautiful sky.
Oh, sorry, Rick.
Hey, Rick, that your image hasn't changed. We're still looking at the first one.
Yeah, the slides aren't advancing.
We know how to fix that. I'm gonna have to get out for a minute.
Okay, that's fine. Oh, there we see. Now it changed.
Yes, they've changed.
Yeah, we can see the Exxon Mobil and the Dos Equis.
Okay. When somebody comes in after the slideshow starts, you have to get out and start again. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Did
Looking
you see
good.
that one? Did you see that one? That's going into the fairgrounds, the fiesta grounds. Then here we are. You want to let her in?
Yeah, I just did.
Okay, and I think it's going to lock up again. Did the slide change?
It's
Did the
still on
slide change?
Exxon. It's still on Exxon and Dos Equis.
Okay, I have to get out again. Sorry, that's the way it works when
Okay.
somebody gets in late. Okay, now do you see, did it change? Should be
No,
one big picture.
no.
Hold on, I'm sorry.
There's you. We see you now.
Oh, you do see it? Okay, good.
We see you in front of several.
Right, that's the current slide. Okay.
Okay.
Here you can see, now did it change? Did it change?
No,
I'm gonna stop screen sharing and start again.
There we are. We see him. We're done. Good.
do you have it set up on slideshow?
Yes, now did it change?
Not yet.
It's the same problem we've had. Let me get out. Okay, I'm gonna try screen sharing again.
Rick, we can see your slides lined up on the left side, so that would indicate it's probably not in slideshow mode.
Well, what you're not seeing is I'm putting it in slideshow mode and you're not seeing that happen. See, I'm clicking on slideshow right now and going from current slide. No change.
No change.
No change.
Okay, I'm gonna get out completely. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You could, does it work for you when you convert it to a PDF and then run through the slides in?
It doesn't make, when somebody comes in late, it takes the focus away from whatever you're in, and that's the problem.
Okay, well, if you want, I'll go ahead and pause recording till we, yeah.
Variety of, look at the mountains in the background and the sky, just magnificent. Here's the Texas balloon. And we walked to that one and we talked to the people that owned it, and you can see the flames here. And it is very loud. And those flames are shooting up into the balloon. They have to be careful, obviously, not to have the flames aimed at the fabric. Did it change?
Yes.
Okay, good. Here's some more pretty balloons. You know, every design you can think of, every color. This is a good shot showing sundown. You can see some commercial balloons there, US Bank, PNC Bank. Once it got dark, they were supposed to have a fireworks show. So we're kind of waiting for that. Well, all of a sudden we see flames up in the air and it's shooting out of something. And this is not a very good picture, unfortunately, but they were powered hang gliders and they had flames shooting out of them. And then they shot fireworks out of them. And they circled around and actually landed on the field eventually. And then they had the big fireworks show after that. But I'd never seen powered hang gliders with fire shooting out of them.
Wow, that's really incredible.
Here's a daytime shot. You can see the balloons just all over the sky. The one on the right is the next morning. We went out there early for the mass ascent. You can see a cow balloon down here. If you can see my mouse, there's a cow balloon down here. There's one with musical notes on it. I was up on a bluff above, looking down at the big field. You can see all the tents and the vendors. Here's a balloon about balloons. Unusual one. Then we get into some animals. There's a dog balloon. Over on the left, this is my favorite, the pig. As the saying goes, when pigs fly, and they do. Here's a devil on the left, a couple of penguins on the right. Tiger on the left and a zebra on the right. And this is actually a the one on the right is a Darth Vader balloon, but he wasn't turned around facing us. Here's some more of the penguins. There's a carousel balloon. Out at the airport, it turns out not only did Goodyear has had blimps, but so has Anheuser-Busch, and they had the Good Beer blimp back in the 70s. You can see on the side it says Good Beer blimp instead of Goodyear blimp. And this is the gondola. And here's pictures of the Good Beer blimp, either painted up as Bush or Budweiser. If you are a Breaking Bad fan, you know that was filmed in Albuquerque. And now the sequel called Better Call Saul is being filmed. So after the Balloon Fest, we went downtown and they have a Breaking Bad museum and store, of course. And here you can see some of the paraphernalia. You can see one of the posters signed by all the cast members. And you can see things that they sell. Breaking Bad underwear. And Breaking Bad, if you see the blue right here, that's fake meth that they made in the show. And that's the show that they're filming now, Better Call Saul. I think it's in the second or third season. Okay, that's Albuquerque. Now let's see if we can get to see if I can get back to screen sharing. And back to this, and here, and go to home. Recent. And slideshow. Okay, can everybody see that slide? Moab, Utah.
Yes.
This is a Flying Longhorns trip from UT that I went on. They had us fly into Colorado, where we met up, and then we it was a bus trip to Moab, and from Moab we spent 5 days going out to different parks. These are not the typical parks that you think of for Utah. These are in the southeast, as we'll see. This is let me move this thing. There. This is, we flew into Grand Junction.
It's not switching, Rick.
Did it switch?
Not yet. It still says that's all, folks.
No, gotta do it again. I'm sorry.
Still not switching.
Okay, that should be the
You may
first
have-
slide.
No, you may have to close the balloon festival completely.
Yeah, it's closed. I opened another one.
Okay,
Let me get it.
maybe exit. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, I've exited out completely. Let me go back to Moab. Minimize that. Bring Zoom back up. Let me try screen sharing again now.
There you go.
Looks good.
Okay, that's the first slide. Did it change?
We've got the first one up.
No, I'm on the second one.
It
No.
hasn't come up.
Try one more time here. Try screen share. See, I don't have anything to share at that point. I have to.
The second one had come up, Rick.
Screen share. Okay, you see the first slide?
Yes.
Yes,
You see the second slide?
yes.
Okay, I'm just gonna leave it like this. So we're in Grand Junction, and I'm on the top floor of the hotel looking out at Colorado National Monument. And it's just beautiful. This is in early October, so trees are still green. It's just beautiful. It's chilly, but Moab is kind of at the edge of the monument area. Then we went to Moab. You can see Moab is kind of southeast part of Utah. Most of the famous national parks are up in the northern part. We're on a bus. And so we're leaving Colorado, heading into Utah, and I took several pictures through the bus window, so you may see some reflections. But this is the first rock formations we're starting to see.
Beautiful.
Get a little better picture of, you can see all the different layers, the way it's weathered.
Yeah, the striations on the rocks, just gorgeous.
You're gonna see a lot more. This is switchbacks. The bus was moving, obviously, a lot of switchbacks to go up and down the mountains to get up to elevation. And you'll notice there are no guardrails. Utah does not believe in guardrails. And the bus is right on the edge of these roads, hanging over the edge. And I was lucky enough to be on that side of the bus. Here you can see strata from millions of years of deposits. The dark areas are called desert varnish or desert lacquer. And there only certain surfaces have that. You'll notice the debris down below the cliffs there. That's where it's broken off over the years from erosion. And desert varnish, also called desert lacquer, forms on physically stable rock surfaces. They're no longer subject to frequent precipitation, fracturing, or wind abrasion. The varnish is composed of particles of clay along with oxides of iron and manganese. There's a host of trace elements and almost always some organic matter. The color of the varnish varies from brown to black, and you'll see a bunch of them. You can just see for miles, there was no pollution at all, air pollution. You can see a little reflection in the window up there at the top. But you can just see for miles and miles. It's just my kind of country. Here you can see how wind and water erosion over millions of years. The erosion starts with water seeping into small cracks. And so it's wet down in there, and then winter comes and it freezes. And of course, you know, water, when it freezes, expands. And so it expands the crack. And over millions of years, the cracks just get bigger and bigger, and eventually it flakes off and falls down below, and you start the process all over again. This shows how the canyons are carved, and that's what it talks about, how the freezing water cracks it, and then things erode, and you get rain causes waterfalls that wash away the softer mud and clay, and you get all these different levels. Some are harder than others, so you get different amounts of erosion, and it all winds up down in the river down below, way down below. It gets carried away eventually. Here's cracks appear in the faces of these rock walls. You can see how it's cracked off over time, and you've got new cracks just waiting to crack off, and you can see the debris down below. There's also wear and tear by what I call Mother Nature, which is wind causes these curved surfaces. strong winds over the eons. If you know what coke is, not Coca-Cola, but coke is a byproduct of burning coal. And it's a much more efficient fuel, and it's safer to burn inside, like in a Hogan or inside a TP or something. It's safer to burn than coal because it doesn't put out as many gases. So here's the natural coke ovens on the left, what look like coke ovens, and here's man-made ones on the right. You can see why they resemble each other, and they're enormous. And then here's the reverse. Here we're close up of an actual coke ovens, and you can see the nature-made ones on the right. We finally arrived in Moab. It was about a 4 or 5 hour drive, and it's down in the valley between the mountains. You can see we're up high, and our hotel's down there on the right. You can see our bus in the middle of the parking lot, so you can see how high up I am. Did the slide change?
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, where I am, I'm up at this restaurant up at the top right. It used to be someone's home. Now it's a steakhouse. And I'm looking down at the hotel and down the valley. People wanted to know what the hotel looked like. We were there for 5 days. It's very nice, the sitting room and everything. But remember, Utah is a Mormon state, and liquor is tightly controlled. The bar in the hotel was roped off, and to be able to go into it, which some people did every night, you had to surrender your driver's license. And they scanned it, gave it back to you. And every time you went into the bar, they had to scan your driver's license. No one under 21 could even be in the bar area. The liquor stores are strictly state-controlled liquor stores. There's no liquor sold in grocery stores or anything like that. Let's quit moving. Let me see if I can do it this way. Did it change?
Yeah,
Yes.
It did?
National Park.
Okay, good. This is Canyonlands National Park, and frozen water creeping into those crevices and cracking the rock eventually caused these high plateaus with all the debris scattered around the bottom. Had to have a Christmas card shot. This is looking down on one of the Indian settlements. They called them Indians. They didn't call them Native Americans. No one seemed to be offended. This is a rock formation that you may recognize. Back a number of years ago, I believe Chrysler used it, put a car up on top of that, and shot a commercial from there.
I remember that.
Came in with a helicopter. And then one of the car companies did that too with a pickup. Maybe it was Chevrolet or maybe Toyota, but it's been used for that kind of thing. Another proof of being there shot. We went to Independence Monument. This is a monument, a national monument, not a national park. And they had a very nice visitor center with all sorts of dioramas and of course a gift shop and that kind of thing. It's BLM managed, and recently BLM has come to mean more than one thing, I found out. It stands for Bureau of Land Management. So that's who manages land that is not part of a national park, but is a national monument or something like that. Hard to tell the difference. There's really extreme erosion there. You can see how high it started and has eroded down. Here you can see roads that have been cut into the rock face, and there are no guardrails. If you're on that outside lane, it's a drop. You don't want to have a flat and need to get off the road, that's for sure. This is the first glimpse of the Green River. And it's responsible for much of the landscape. That is, it cuts through and receives a lot of the runoff. And it's kind of green, brownish green. It's the same river that actually merges with the Colorado, and that goes through the Grand Canyon. And that's one of the reasons the Grand Canyon, in the Grand Canyon, the Colorado River is not clear and pretty because of all the runoff that's being merged from here. This is a glimpse out across the desert up to the La Salle Mountains. So it's the only snow-capped mountains we saw were being early October. Beautiful mountains, and they actually have skiing up there, I think. Again, a lot of erosion. You can see the desert lacquer or varnish on some of the rocks. Here were some tuber rafters. Obviously not our group, be a bunch of youngins. This was an unusual formation because it exposed copper. You can see the copper has turned green. Just one of the few bridges that goes over the river. There aren't very many. And you can see a lot of desert lacquer there on the face of the rock. This I just found amazing, the way the erosion over the years has eroded some of the softer rock and left the harder rock. It's an ongoing process, so eventually these rocks will fall. They won't have any soft support under them, but just the amazing erosion that's happened over the years. This kind of looks like the Devil's Rock that prominent in Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Hey, Dorothy, I saw that you were calling.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand you. What'd you say?
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. Let me call you back. I'll call you back.
Okay. This is the Green River overlook, just showing how the erosion over the millions of years has carved into what would have been a flat desert, really. The river is way down there at the bottom, as you can see a little bit of it, like right there, over here toward the right. But this is where the Green River flows into the Colorado. The walking paths are really pretty good. I was surprised. I expected them to be much rougher. No one fell or broke ankles. There weren't any handrails, but everybody just took it easy, and we were able to walk all around. The paths were very good. This is the river at work. Extreme examples of carving with the river flowing. This is some more pictures of the La Salle Mountains. It's quite a big range. I've never heard of it before, but it goes along for quite a ways. We came to Dead Horse Point. I'm sorry if there's a reflection there from the glass that's covering this poster, but in the right in the middle, that point that's sticking out is Dead Horse Point. It's called that because back in the 1800s, they would round up wild Mustangs and drive them to that point and then build a fence across there. And they would corral them there. And then the cowboys would come and pick out the horses they wanted and leave the rest of them. And they would starve to death and no water, no food. And that happened evidently over and over again. Here's the actual view where we're standing looking across at Dead Horse Point. We made a rest stop at a fairly authentic 1800s village. You can see the huts there in the foreground. The top left and right are actual wagons that were used to come over from the east, typically like St. Louis. I don't know how they made it through all those canyons and bluffs and how they managed to find ways to make their way west. don't think I'd have made it. I'd have gone back. It's a pretty interesting place. This is the famous Run Forrest Run section of the highway from Forrest Gump. This is where he stopped and said, "I'm tired," and he turned around and went home. One of our people on the trip got out there and ran for us. This is Goulding's Lodge. Back in the 1800s, they made friends with the Indians, established various trading posts, and now they actually have a lodge where you can stay. If you want to go hiking or camping in this area, you can stay there. And they have built a hogan. And then on the left, you'll see that's the interior of the hogan. It's pretty, they've used mud or whatever to caulk between the logs, so it's pretty tight. You wouldn't want to build a fire in there without a good ventilation, without a chimney. And you can see at the top center picture, there is a little chimney. On the right, though, is where they actually cook the food, and that's their outdoor kitchen, which is pretty open, not very protected. We went inside to the restaurant and had Navajo tacos, which were excellent. This is Monument Valley, which is pretty famous. Lots of Westerns have been filmed here. You see the different monuments that have been eroded away. They're just enormous size and scope of it. After we went there, our big adventure was to go off-roading and no-roading on a tour in Hummers. You can see the Hummers lined up on the left, and these Hummers are diesel Hummers. They seat a driver and a passenger in the front, and then a row that holds 3 or 4, and then a raised row behind that holds another 4. I sat next to the driver in the front seat. I got better pictures. You can see the top right picture. Look at the road we're about to go up. It's not paved. It has no shoulder. It's just rock. And the discoloration is just from the tires going over and over and over again. I'm going to try to show you a movie, 3 little movies. Did that movie show?
No,
It didn't?
no.
No, we could hear
Oh.
something, but there was no video.
No, I'm sorry. It shows the actual ride going over those non-roads, and you can't even see where you're going. Luckily, the driver's done it enough times, he knows where you're going. And it's a pretty rough ride, and there were a number of people screaming, but it was pretty cool. Can you see the balanced rock now?
Yes.
Okay, so from there we went on to balanced rock, and this is again erosion, and eventually that rock on top is going to fall because the rock underneath it is softer and it's being eroded away. So eventually all these will fall. Some of them have fallen fairly recently, in fact.
Rick, is that the one that the boy and his father pushed over?
I don't think so. No, that's
Okay.
too big. We didn't go to that one.
Okay.
Here's some actual ones. And look at the one on the right. It kind of looks like a person's head or an animal's head. And you can see there in the middle, it's just barely being held up by some softer rock that's eroding away. Eventually it'll tip over with the wind blowing and the erosion. This is for Sue and Mark, because I know you'd want to walk these trails. And if you go farther back in there, you see some that weren't accessible to us.
It is
This
beautiful.
Excuse me?
It is beautiful, Rick. We have done that.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Mhm.
This shows how the arches are formed. You get these initial, what are called fins that are eroded, and then they erode more. And with the water, it eventually
You wanna just
hollows
take
out an
that
area.
out, 'cause I've
It
got-
continues to do that, and
Yeah, I see
eventually
you.
it will collapse. This is an example of one with a couple of different arches. There's other
Wanna
arches
mess
there on
with
the right,
that?
single,
I'm
double,
gonna give you a
broken
check for my
arches.
account.
This shows you how the formation is done, how double arches form. And then you're gonna actually see some here. You can look, if you look at the people standing under those arches, you can see how huge they are.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Rick.
The one in the center is a double arch. You can see the two
Wow.
holes.
They look a little bit like giant eyes.
Yeah. This is the one we did not get to visit. It's probably one of the most famous, called Delicate Arch. And they're saying it's not gonna last much longer, which probably just means a few million years.
That'd be a great place for me who likes rocks.
Yes. We were just driving along the road and they pulled off to the side, and right on the road is this desert lacquer with 12,000-year-old petroglyphs drawn into it. And they've managed to survive. There's a whole wall of them.
That's really spectacular. Wow.
The last night we went on a river cruise. We had dinner. Unfortunately, it was a big boat that held a couple hundred people, and we had to share it with a touring group from A&M. But that's the way it goes. And you can see this picture at the top right is just a close up of the rock face. At the bottom right is after it got dark, they had a truck that rode along the road under those cliffs with giant spotlights. They're not allowed to install anything, so these are portable. And so they moved along as we did, and there was a booming voice coming from the mountains telling you about the history. It's pretty cool. I'm gonna try to show those movies. Tell me if you can. I'm going to try to screen share again and see if I can get to the movies. Hold on. Could you see that? Do you want to see that?
We
No.
didn't see anything.
No.
I see something. I mean, it's a
Sunset.
it's
Okay.
a background with a bunch of little.
Okay. Well, movies are not showing for some reason. So, bunch of pretty pictures. Hope you enjoyed that.
Photos were great, Rick. Thank you so much.
And those were just taken with an iPhone. And
Wow.
I don't have a fancy camera.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very, very
Yeah,
nice.
that was
Thank
that
you.
was great.
Any
Really
questions? Or
spectacular. Yeah, do y'all have any questions or want to chime in with anything?
I was one of the youngsters on the trip. There was a guy actually on a hover round, scooter. He and his wife drove from Houston, met up with us, and then the people on the bus driver and one of the guides helped him unload it out of the cargo bay of the bus, and he drove it around. The trails were good enough that he could go to most of the trails.
Mm.
So it's
It
pretty
sounds like
amazing.
something I could do. I love that. Would love that.
Yes, Lauren.
Rivers.
I was very interested. You were showing the roads that don't have any guardrails,
Right.
and there was a sign for bikes.
Yeah. And we saw some bikers.
No, I didn't see them. They were biking.
There were some bikers that we saw. I didn't take pictures of, but there were, yes. And motorcycles. And when we were on the Hummer trip, they also rented out, we of course had a experienced driver. He said he'd been doing it for 14 years. And he knew where the non-roads were and how to drive on them and not flip over. But they actually rent essentially go-kart, or not go-karts, golf carts, souped up golf carts that you can rent and drive yourself on those plateaus. And we saw at least 2 of them that had babies strapped in the back.
Oh,
And they said they quite frequently have to send EMS out there. They roll over and they have to get them out.
Oh, no.
oh my.
Hey, Rick, with the balloon festival, like how many balloons roughly? And then what about the crowd as far as attendance? Any estimates on that?
It was 550 balloons is what the limit was. I assume it was mostly, it looked like 550. Like I said, there were some from other parts of the world where they couldn't come, and they had to, if they wanted to, they could send their balloon and then hire a crew to fly them. But I've just never seen such color and variety. And I think there were about 100,000 people there the night we went for the glow, and it was crowded. Actually, away from the balloons, when you got over by the concessions, we were trying to get something to eat, buy souvenirs and things. It was very crowded.
Hey, Rick. Henry, I understand how the balloons are kept inflated once they're already inflated, but how on earth do they start without burning them up?
They turn the blower down on its side, and they are almost on its side, and they have people that hold the balloons,
Oh, okay.
hold parts of them up, and they don't go full blast on the burner. It didn't look like until they start moving up some.
Yeah.
Yeah, I assume the balloons are semi, that they're treated with something to make them not so flammable, but still a flame would, I'm sure, ignite them.
Yeah.
We didn't get to experience that.
I'm gonna take it with me.
Good.
What you doing right
Yeah.
now? I don't know. Andrew gave me this one. You'll take good care of it.
The balloon park itself has parking for RVs, because a lot of the people that do the balloons, as well as just visitors, and they reserve those like years in advance. And hotels fill up, and Albuquerque is quite the place during that week or so of the balloon fiesta.
It's magnificent. I was there one year.
I think they've reached about the maximum number of balloons they can accommodate unless they add more fields, because it's pretty full.
They have 500 all of them.
550.
Yeah, but
And
5.
Rick, they bring them down at night, is that correct? And
They
then
do. They bring them down at night and basically pack them away into trailers or whatever, kind of in their grid. And then they do it all over again the next morning. And, this goes on for over a week. And during the day, they have these chases where they have a balloon that you're chasing, and they have all sorts of games, and they're flying over the mountains. It's quite a week long, or maybe it's 10 days. Is it about 10 days? Something like that event.
wow, it sounds spectacular.
Really does.
Libby lives there. You see Libby up there. And
Oh,
so-
hey, Libby. I didn't realize.
I was expecting her to correct me on some of this, but
Oh, look
she's
at
gone
that.
for many years. She lives in Albuquerque, so
Yeah, that's who it is.
I didn't have to worry about a place to stay, so that made it nicer.
Yeah, it was just beautiful. And the sky just looks amazing. That blue is just, they had perfect weather for it. It looked like anyway.
Yeah, the weather was it wasn't too windy. There was enough wind, but not too much. There wasn't any time they had to ground the balloons or anything because of the wind. Of course, once they lift off, then you have to have a chase car that follows you to bring you back. There's no turning around.
So do you does the balloon tether to the car to bring it back? Or how does it?
The car watches them.
I think they actually bring them down, and
Okay,
deflate them,
okay.
turn off the
Bump 'em
burner
up.
and deflate them. So they have to be careful where they land. And
Sure.
then they pack them into I think all the chase cars are really like pickup trucks. And they pack them in there and bring them back. And getting to be in the chase car is kind of a big deal too, getting to help
Yeah.
with it. Sure.
And as far as the crew on the balloon, like how many people have to be there to like actually manage the whole process?
I don't know, it looked like maybe half a dozen.
Yeah. Huh?
And off the ground, and the baskets hold 4 or 5 people, something like that. They did have one that, I believe it was one that hung up on a power line,
Hmm.
but didn't hurt anybody, and they managed to get it off. I believe Libby declined to go on one with me because she had ridden in one that when it came down, the basket hit the ground and then got drug along the ground
Mhm.
quite a ways, and wasn't the landing she'd expected. I think I think you spilled your champagne, didn't you? So it's not always a smooth landing. But
So Rick, how long does it take for one of those balloons to inflate one of those balloons?
didn't seem like very long, maybe 15 or 20 minutes once they start.
Huh.
Once it starts going up, then they crank up the burner and it goes right on up. Libby, you're gonna say something?
I've seen, when I've seen them watched it from flat to taking off, about half an hour.
Rick, did
Yeah.
you go? Did you go up on in a balloon?
No. They were very proud of getting of you wanting to ride. It was not a cheap thing, and after hearing Libby's story and seeing the one hit the power lines, I thought I'd just observe.
I got to ride a balloon in a very unusual area of Turkey. And it was just absolutely magnificent. There was a lot of rock formations around. It's like in the center part of Turkey. And that was absolutely fabulous. We came down very nice and soft.
I have a friend who had his 40th birthday flying in a hot air balloon over the Serengeti Plain in Africa.
Oh, wow.
Rick, oh, Rick.
Yeah.
Am I on?
Yeah, we can hear you.
We had a member at TUMC. She went to our faith class for, I'm not sure now, it was between 5 and 10 years, I guess, that she was there. But for her 92nd birthday, she talked her daughter into taking her to the balloon festival so that she could go up, and she did at 92 to celebrate her birthday. And she just had a glorious time. She was quite a character. And then the next year for her 93rd, she was wanting to go in a glider and jump out with a parachute like George Bush had done. And the daughter said, no, I'm setting my foot down. She said, well, why? It will be so much fun. And she said,
Bush
Mother,
did it. George
I
Bush
know
did it.
you would enjoy jumping out the door of the plane. You would have fun with that. You would have fun pulling the parachute and all. But she said, did you happen to think that you do have to land? Are you ready to give up both hips? Said, oh, well, okay.
I'd like to do the jump, but it's that first step out of the plane.
That wouldn't have bothered Glenna. She had faith.
I did do that. I did jump out of an airplane, but it was tandem.
Yeah, that's the way I would do it.
So I was,
With another, yeah.
like harnessed in front of the person that was experienced and could work all the stuff on the parachute. And the first step, I was in front of a person. So yeah. I was out there and I loved it. I recommend it.
Did you do that here?
No, I did that in Delaware. I've been around.
Nobody goes to Delaware.
Yeah.
Very cool. Any other comments or questions? It's about 1. Well,
Rick, those were some great photos. Yeah, thank you so much. That was great. We get to a little bit of vicarious travel through your demonstration. Yeah, seriously, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone, for hopping on. More great programs to come, so please check the calendar.
Okay, thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice program.